We are streaming live on July 22nd, Sunday. Going to get to some Bible study, but first of all, we're going to talk about some QAnon news and SpyGate being confirmed, and actually getting to some Serial Brain 2 posts that explain some very complex stuff, but just shows the life of QAnon and post 1675. So a few people are just joining now, but if you do want to actually see me live ever, you're going to always have to subscribe and actually put that little bell to all notifications. That's very important. Some people miss that, and YouTube seems to be turning it on and off. So it has to be on all notifications, and then obviously you need to have YouTube notifications coming to your device. But let's get into this. SpyGate confirmation. I see a lot of people coming on from I see East Texas and Virginia and Ice Cream and Lisa and Leonard and Paul and Zach. Thank you guys. Colorado, another person from Virginia. Really good to see you guys. We're going to dig into this. I probably have enough material to go through 3 hours of videos, 3 shows I could have on this, literally. And because yesterday, as you know, I recorded the new updated from my guess the QAnon for newbies, if you will, or the deep state and all that. I re-recorded that and updated it, and so I missed all the news from yesterday, right? So I'm way behind. So we're going to dig into this, and I'm going to go to a pretty quick clip here. Here we go. So we're talking about July 4th still being the last post. 1675, that was this real key one that SB2 is just really linking to, and that whole reflections, right, and that whole 1675 and the details of that. And so that's where we're going. But hey, first let's get into a couple pieces of news. We'll get into SBC's, I guess, 6th or 7th post on 1675 and all the meanings based on the actual news. And so his theory is the reason we're not getting new QAnon posts is because Trump is actually speaking this directly with coded messages in his events, which is really a cool situation. But here's some of the stuff that's happening, though. This is a big boom, I think. FBI had to finally release the FISA surveillance on Carter Page. And if you go look at this, it's just hilarious how much stuff they actually redacted, obviously covering their butts. Look at this page, completely redacted. Yeah, you know, a lot of them are like, I don't know, 30, 50%. Some of them were getting a pretty good chunk of information there, though. But look at that, and there's another one that's probably 90% redacted. So heavy, heavy redactions. But it's really happening, though, where they just like in WikiLeaks, they gave it a little bit of information, you know, had all the troves of information. You didn't just dump it and let everybody go research it. What Julian Assange did, what was brilliant, is a little bit of information woke the public up at a time, right? So people could assimilate it, report on it, figure it out. And now here we are, the deep state trying to redact all this stuff is going to bite him in the butt because it's given us enough showing of the corruption. And then when it comes out, they're going to be in big trouble because it's just feeding a little bit of information all the time. And so the unredacted stuff's going to come out and show them trying to cover up everything like they have. And so this clearly showed a ton of corruption, that this FISA surveillance warrant was pretty much a fraudulent based upon all the dossier, the fake dossier, right? And who signed it, you know, so you can actually go see the actual signatures at the bottom of this. So it's a really big piece of paper, but you'll see some of the signatures here when I go down here all the way to the end. And just shows, you know, Comey signed it and Sally Yates signed it. And so we're just getting a lot more information. I'm not going to take the time to actually go find that because it takes quite a while. But here's the big Great Awakening post saying, and again, this is reddit.com, the Great Awakening subreddit. And people are really excited about this. They pin the post up on the Great Awakening site. And it says, page 6 tells a story, speculation in the media, which was leaked by the FBI to the media. And then they used that for this warrant. What a joke this is, right? And someone says, can someone inform the FBI that they are using black highlighters still? So there's a lot of frustration, obviously, you know, on all the redactions, etc. But I think it's serving the plan's purpose. A little bit more corruption being revealed every single day, and I think that is what's the whole plan is, right? Just a little bit at a time, And this is really confirming SpyGate, right? Completely, that there was surveillance on Trump. through faulty means, fake dossier, etc., right? So that is pretty cool stuff, I think. Here you go on a Gateway Pundit article that says Obama's former director of national intelligence says Obama is behind the entire witch hunt. So basically, Clapper just threw Obama under the bus. Basically, for the first, we haven't seen this before. So this is an amazing change in demeanor to have Clapper actually say, here it is, President Obama's former director of national intelligence, the DNI, right, James Clapper, came clean on CNN and stated that former President Obama was behind spying on President Trump. So this whole deal, the Russian surveillance, all the SpyGate stuff was really clear, and I'll show you some clips of that a little bit later. But here's another article by Gateway Pundit as well. Obama's former director of national intelligence says Obama's behind the entire witch hunt. I'm sorry, that's the exact same one, isn't it? Let's see. Yeah, here's a meme that talks about it, where we've got your back. And they're in the shadows, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, the IRS. We've got your back, right? The reason I did this twice is I was gonna grab one of these other articles that were really cool, and I think it was this one right here. And this is one that says, "Boom, President Trump." It looks more like Trump, and so I'm gonna click on this because it really clearly is showing. Boom, President Trump. It looks more and more like the Trump campaign was illegally being spied upon. So it's just happening, right? It's all of it's coming to the highlight. We knew this for years. I mean, since October, since QAnon's been posting, and since Trump's been tweeting about it even back before that, right? But on Saturday, Judicial Watch's President Tom Fitton announced documents related to the FISA warrants on Trump's former campaign advisor, Carter Page, were released to the FBI and arrived at JW headquarters. Obama's deep state FBI obtained a FISA warrant on Carter Page in October of 2016 and 3 subsequent renewals in order to spy on Trump's campaign and transition team. Comey, Rosenstein, McCabe, and Sally Yates all signed the FISA warrants. So this is, we knew this based on the memo that we got, right? But now to actually see the signatures and see the fraud, I think this is, again, just more leaking of the confirmation of this. The FISA application, even though Hillary's fraudulent Russian dossier was used as a pretext to obtain the warrants. So just some great stuff here. You can I'll put a link here. You can go read about it in more detail. We just have so much to get through. I'm going to continue to whip through this, okay? Now here's where I'm going to get to the meat of SB2, Serial Brain 2. You can see he's just a brilliant anon that, to be honest, is way above my intelligent level, I think. I had a 3.96, or I'm sorry, 3.89 GPA, right, at undergraduate, and I think at 3.86 in my MBA. So I'm not a dummy, I know that, but his level of intelligence is way up there. And so some of this stuff is difficult, but there's like 6 or 7 posts talking about 1675 here on Q, right, which is this whole thing where it looks like QAnon actually took a picture with his wife's iPhone and a reflection back onto in Air Force One, and they actually put a mug here. And so that's tied like 6 different of SB2's posts together. And so we're going to go through these because this is going to probably take a lot of time. So unfortunately, my Bible study is probably going to have to cut pretty short tonight, but we'll get through Ezra 1 when we get there. And there's another prophecy I got to read you that's just phenomenal. So hold on to that as well, which talks exactly about the justice and the corruption that's becoming from another prophet. So we'll dig into that a little bit too. But let's grab this. So this is SB2. No. This is some. I'm skipping around here, guys. Sorry, but this was interesting. Look at this. My friend's son, who is in National Guard Reserve, right? The Army National Guard Reserve just got deployment orders for 9 months at Gitmo starting in November. Why is he calling up the Army National Reserve to get deployed for 9 months in Gitmo starting in November? So a lot of this stuff is starting to happen. We know that, okay? So let me go back here to the SB2 post. So here's here's the first one. So Trump has just given us the server. So now there's another one that he posted today that says, now comes the pain, 23. So this is exciting. Remember when he revealed his trip code, 23, the -- 23, and we all thought it was 23 days. What does it mean? SB2 thinks he's decoded that, right? But let's go back, because to get the context, you're going to have to understand the one he did 2 days ago that I have not had time to report on yet. So let's look at this. So far, we know this fundamental information, the Q1675 riddle, is the device through which Trump communicates with us. Using it as an anchor point, he sends us the information we need in order to read his moves and understand current news. I have written several related posts listing what we have learned. Q1675, a reflection, a mug holder in Air Force One, and a happy Independence Day, can you solve? Right? So that whole first connection was really the mug, having to do with Alaweed having the mug, saying I'm being mugged, and it was showing you how the deep state is actually communicating, and it's showing us that, hey, Trump can communicate in a similar way to us. So we can be in the war here directly with direct communications versus Q post, which is really interesting. The second one was about Trump has just validated Q at the Great Falls rally and gave us a solution to Q1675. Let that sink in. Now, again, I've gone over these in separate posts, but I'll link this and you can go read these if you haven't had a chance to catch up here. But this one literally talked about the Great Falls rally. He put the Great Falls down to the falling of Jericho. We linked all that, linked it all to a lot of statements he made, literally talking about where the media made fun of him because he used the word brain 4 times. Serially, 4 brains. So he's referring back to Serial Brain Post. He's talking about Elton John and his organ and music, and that came back to the tables that actually pointed to the B2. And he was a year ago. If you go back to the July 4th, the previous year in 2017, it was the deep state was actually threatening Trump to take him out with a B2 because they could take over military equipment, supposedly. But now that's been completely cut a year later. Basically, what the whole communication is we are truly independent. That's what 1625 is really telling us, right? And Trump is coming back to say that Serial Brain's decode here was correct, right? And then later he actually talks about Hammond here, and then literally Hammond he actually pardon the Hammonds. So everything's pulling together, pointing to SB2's post. And since SB2's on these boards, etc., and he's reposted SB2's posts before, he's obviously talking to us as the QAnon community. Part 3, basically, I told you Trump was talking to us. Some had doubts. Well, he just doubled down a second time. And this is when he sent the Elton John CD saying he was going to send this Elton John JG of Rocket Man to North Korea, right? So you probably remember that. And that was just, again, doubling down, saying what I said in Falls about music was correct. I'm talking about organ. I'm talking about Hammond. I'm talking about the B2. And now here, look at this again, right? And then in part 4, Mr. President, we see you want to continue our B2 conversation. There's a whole nother level of pulling all this together. Part 5, Trump's hidden message struck Kate and the soda. This is when the literally Coke bottle, the Diet Coke bottle that said Kate there. I thought initially that would have been the deep state communicating don't talk, right? But they already did that with the rat's mouse, right? The face that her husband had to wear when Kate Spade was suicided. But when we look at, Trump's hidden message here was really that Strzok is working for the FBI, Ray's controlling him, and he goes back to talking about Uranium One, where the Oregon governor his first name is Kate. So interesting stuff going on here. Part 6, Trump's brilliant chess combination in Helsinki. He talks about the 4 moves he made before he even got there, showing that he had the hand over Putin, right? And that you better start working with me on taking the deep state down, right? And it looks like that happened. They gave him the ball, all that type of stuff. Cool stuff, right? So that's part 6. We're going to get part 7 in just a second, but let's review all this because it's important. I had conversations with Anons who rightly made me notice that this new way of communicating with us was actually announced by Q in this June 20th, 2018 post. It's 1581. So Q 1581. We serve at the pleasure of the president. We left the decision on timing to him. Today at the rally, he made his decision. Shift in tactics. Attacks. Q. Greater than Q, whatever that is. But I now realize this shift in tactics means POTUS, President of the United States, has decided to get us to the next level in our comms, direct communications. Did you see my post about Q1304 Emmy Awards link? And this was interesting too, the way the Emmys were talking about how that linked back to some other things. I can't exactly recall that, but the link is here for you if you want to go back and dig into that. Did you see Q's translation of Comey's tweet in Q645? This was interesting. So Q basically took a tweet that James Comey had, and the extra bold capitals is what Q is saying Comey means by this tweet, right? So here we are. It says, James Comey tweet translation. Special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months. Do not talk is what he's saying. When small people, sheep, were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on, cover it. We served the distinction for 2 decades. We own you and your family. I wish Andy well. 187. In other words, you will be murdered if you talk. I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. General threat to others in the FBI. Americans need you. Activate the sleeper cells. So this is the type of communication the deep state uses through Twitter and other, through the different media when we're talking. So now Trump's doing the same thing to us through his Twitter as well as through when he's in, conferences and actually speaking live. And so we're supposed to analyze those and see how he's actually talking to us, right? So that was this whole way that Q shows the deep state communicating through these coded messages. Did you see Q's translation of Comey's tweet? This is how the deep state communicates. Q gave us a template. This is how we also need to be communicating. This will allow us to intercept their comms and efficiently oppose them on the battlefield. Why? Because we don't have anything to hide. They do. In the long run, they will have to stop communicating and it will be checkmate. So what's the news? Let's start with a piece of information that is the easiest to decode to see you will start training your ear progressively. Watch this video. So this is a pretty short 1.5-minute video, so I'm going to play it.
Let me begin by saying that, once again, the full faith and support for America's intelligence agencies. I have a full faith in our intelligence agencies. Whoops, they just turned off the light. That must be the intelligence agencies. There it goes. Okay. You guys okay? Good. It was strange, but that's okay.
All right, fair use notice on that. So you can see that that is crazy, huh? The lights went out exactly when he said, I trust the intelligence agency, right? So did you catch it? An incident like this cannot happen in the White House unless it was done on purpose, right? So Trump says they just turned off the lights. Turn off the lights. T-O-L. Thinking of laughing. Then he smiles. Trump is saying, of course, I have no confidence in the intelligence agencies. Hearing myself say I do makes me want to laugh. You got it? Let's try another one. So that's a type of communication. Trump's lights going off, right, to us, but it also was probably to other people in the deep state as well, right? So here's another one. He says, you got it. Let's try another one. Watch this video. Again, relatively short video, so I'm going to play it.
I have full faith and support for America's great intelligence agencies. Always have. and I have felt very strongly that while Russia's actions had no impact at all on the outcome of the election, let me be totally clear in saying that, and I've said this many times, I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there. There was no collusion at all. I thought that I made myself very clear by having just reviewed the transcript. Now, I have to say, I came back and I said, what is going on? What's the big deal? So I got a transcript, I reviewed it. I actually went out and reviewed a clip of an answer that I gave. People came to me, Dan Coates came to me and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. I realize that there is a need for some clarification. It should have been obvious. I thought it would be obvious, but I would like to clarify just in case it wasn't. In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russia. Sort of a double negative. So you can put that in, and I think that probably clarifies things pretty good by itself.
So you can see a couple of big things there. The statements, double negative he talks about, wouldn't NT, and he also says you can put that in. So SB2 is going to talk to us a little bit about that now, about how he decodes all that into something that I would never think of. But let's look at this. Trump says, in a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't or why it wouldn't be Russia. Sort of a double negative. So you could put that in, and I think that's probably clarifies things pretty good by itself. Now, the media went crazy with this, saying he's just backtracking, he's a liar, all that type of stuff. So did you catch what he is really saying? So you could put that in. Who? Where? Trump knows the fake news media has no interest in the truth and will certainly not archive it. So you think Trump all of a sudden cares about what MSM understands and keeps from him? No. He is talking to us. He is saying, I want to clarify a point that I know is of interest to you. Once I clarify it, put it in. Add it to the other points I have been already made since my Great Falls speech. You got it? Now, ask yourself why it isn't Trump even more explicit since he is clarifying. Wouldn't it be more powerful and unequivocal to say would not instead of wouldn't? Why is he using NT instead of not? Because he wants us to focus on NT. What is NT? Expand your thinking. Windows NT is a family of operating systems produced by Microsoft. So there's a link there just talking about Windows NT. Windows NT 3.1 was the first version of this operating system that was intended for workstations and servers. Its latest version is known under the name Windows Server 2016. Through this input, Trump has put to rest all the speculations regarding the interpretation of mirror in 1675 riddle. He's saying, yes, the server interpretation is also correct. I'm validating it. Add it to what you already know. So this Q666 said, think mirror, which team? They don't know. Apache. You now see the power of 1675. I told you, it's like a TV set through which you understand the news. This gives me the opportunity to address a very important question. Sometimes Anons ask me to share my views about the hypothesis and complain my responses are vague or not definitive. The reason is that the time they ask the question, even though I find the hypothesis very aesthetically or rhetorically attractive, the riddle does not give a strong link to the hypothesis. I therefore remain silent until Trump or Q gives more information to confirm the validity of the hypothesis. Example, when I said B2, Trump said Oregon, then I said Hammond, and then he pardoned the Hammonds. Going from B2 to Hammond was an impossible leap for me because B2 is a note any instrument can play. Trump had to validate it. This is why he gave the missing link Oregon. Like many other anons, I saw the mirror and was related to the mirror server. But making the link was not allowed by the riddle. It would have been a very weak link. Now Trump coming and saying NT is enough to bring in the server. But there is more. Trump further solidifies this link. He also says sort of a double negative. Initials SDN. Rearranged DNS. Domain name server. Very common term. Indeed, we are in server Terry, confirmed, resolved. So that's where he's just basically saying that Trump is talking to us about the server. He's got the server. Now, there's 4 servers, right? And SBC is going to talk to us about, he thinks we have them all, right? Now, the POTUS himself has validated the server. We can add another tangent to Q1675 riddle and draw the following images. Read clockwise. So you see, it's basically goes to the upper right in a key sentence. In my remarks, I said the word instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't or why it wouldn't be Russia. Sort of a double negative. So you could put that in, and I think that probably clarifies things pretty good by itself. And that was Trump. So that's NT plus DNS, brings us into the Apache server, which is a server. So Q talked about Apache right here when he said, think mirror, which team? They don't know, Apache. We just saw that, right? And you go back to 1681, which is talking about mirror, and 1677 talks about reflection. So the whole 1675 thing culminates in making sure he knows, hey, we have the servers. And this is one of 2 his posts, so I'm just not sure if I'm going to have time to do much more after this, guys. But this is crazy good stuff, so I've got to get through this because there's certain things I just think are so critical for this movement, and it just explains why Q's not posting right now, right? So let's see where we were here. I know this type of language can be a little overwhelming in the beginning, but you will see, you will get the, I think he says heck of it, the hang of it very quickly if you are willing to try and persevere. And by the way, no, I'm not crazy. No, I don't see patterns everywhere. No, I'm not reaching. Before bringing this language to our attention, Q made sure you saw how I was recruiting observation and logic to solve this challenging riddles. If I were here to deceive you or mislead you, I would have been crushed a long time ago, like all the others. Future proves past. Q. Now that I've given you these tools, try to decode Trump's message here. Watch until 4940. Try to determine how this part of his speech is connected to Q75 and the server. Why the use of the word apprentice? Why 23 companies? So I'm going to play that right now because those are the questions you can talk about, is apprentice and 23 companies. That's going to come back to his next post on the 23, right? The trip code that he revealed. So let's listen to this real quick.
In that spirit, I'm proud to announce an exciting new challenge and the beginning of a new national movement. We're asking businesses and organizations across the country to sign our new pledge to America's workers. Today, 23 companies and associations are pledging to expand apprenticeships. That's an interesting word for me to be saying, right? The apprentice. I never actually put that together until just now. That was a good experience, I will tell you that. Isn't that strange, Ivanka? I never associated, but here we are. Can't get away from that word. It's a great word. For on-the-job training and vocational education. They will sign the pledge committing to train and retrain more than 3.8 million American students and workers for new jobs and rewarding careers.
All right. So he told us watch to that point, and so you can see That he's talking about 23 companies. He's talking about apprentice. He says it several times, right? I will give the solution to this presidential riddle in my next post, but since I will agree it's a little hard, I will give you a hint. Research how paper whiteness is measured considering the light reflected by the paper across the visible spectrum. You remember? Q1675 is all about reflections. Good luck. Q 1225, learn our comms. Q. All right, that's his first post, talking about the new way Trump is communicating with us directly through all these coded messages back to 1675, the reflection that was on July 4th, or right around before July 4th, talking about how we are really independent now from what all the threats of him being taken out by a B2 in the previous time. As you know, where they had the stock market rigged for 10 of the tech companies, and they all came to that number that points to the B2 on the musical scale. That is crazy stuff. And so the B2, that they were giving Trump messages through these coded messages. So Trump's trying to see, this is how they communicate with each other. This is how they're communicating with me. Now I want to be able to communicate with you, QAnon people. And so obviously the help of SB2 helps a ton. So the good news is he's got his new post out. It just came out 2 hours ago. It says, now comes the pain 23. This is important because this is what we've all been looking for, of what does that trip code that says now comes the pain, big dash little dash 23. And so this is quite a long post again, but I think it's going to be worth it to kind of go through this together. So where are we? Yes, Q brought Q1675. I said B2. Trump said Oregon. I said Hammond. He pardoned the Hammonds. Then Trump went to Helsinki. Putin gave him the ball. Trump gave it to Melania and said, this is for my son Barron. Then for his interview, he picked NBC. Why? Because the name the show is Squawk Box. Then he called Hussein the contortionist in this post. So this is quite funny because we've been talking about him being the contortionist lately, right? But this is another whole Helsinki thing, etc. But that Silver Brain 2 did. Just wanted to show you that you can go link to that post and get more of it. Then I called Hussein the contortionist in this post. He called him a patsy the next day and refers to the exact same video footage I've referred to about Hussein's flexibility. Remember when he was whispering to the Russian, and it wasn't Vladimir, but it was Vladimir's ambassador, right? So we can see that video. I'm not going to play it right now, just for time's sakes. Coincidence? No. Trump is establishing proofs he is talking to us, and I see you guys have picked up. I see the overwhelming majority of our movement now understands that Trump is talking to us, and everybody is now learning the comms. There is a minority of people still doubting, but that's okay. I hope they will join soon. Before we get into the solution of the riddle from my last post, are you enjoying as much as I do the panic in the opposing camp? I tell you what, I am. That is for sure. And let's keep on going here. Complete meltdown of the MSM. Nervous voices of lost politicians in television interviews. And icing on the cake, I'm sure James Clapper jumps ship and finally reveals the contortionist is responsible for the entire Russian witch hunt. And I showed you that article, but this is another view that I wanted to show you. It says James Clapper admits to Anderson Cooper that Obama set off the sequence of events that led to the Mueller investigation by tasking the intelligence community assessment. So this was crazy. I thought that he would actually do that. Well, let me back up and play this real quick.
For President Obama, we might not have done the intelligence community assessment that we did that set off a whole sequence of events which are still unfolding today, notably Special Counsel Mueller's investigation. President Obama is responsible for that, and it was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment in the first place. I think
Wow. That is throwing Obama under the bus. First time we've seen that from all his cronies, right? So this is now, the pain is coming. It is starting to, you just saw Whoopi Goldberg go crazy, kick Judge Jeanine off the set, kick her out of the building, saying, "Get the F out of here, get the F out of here." Crazy. They're just all completely unhinged. They know it's all sinking. So anyway, that was the being definitely put under the bus there. You know why Clapper is now coming clean, right? He understood Trump's message very well. He is trained to understand the things we have been talking about in my last post. Clapper knows the light incidents at the White House was done on purpose. And what it really meant, not only do I not trust the intelligence agencies, it also says, besides the TOL interpretation I gave in the previous post, right, which is think about laughing, right? Because he was laughing that he had to say, "I trust it." Clapper knows Trump's message also meant you better come clean before the lights are on. We're talking about dark to light. We've been talking about that a lot, right? Dark to light. I showed you in the previous post that Trump has connected the server to the Q1675 riddle through NT, the Microsoft Windows OS, and we found the connection to the Q board through Apache. We saw that, right? The most widely used web server software. This is the image we already saw that he said look clockwise around, right? As many have noticed, I did not specify in my post which server. The reason is it's all the servers. These riddles require a minimum of abstraction from us to understand this message sent to us. When I say the server is a generic term for all the servers, that the method Trump is using to fight the deep state allows him to get. When I say Trump gave us the server, I mean his method brought the server to the center stage, connected it to the current riddle, and allows us to be used as a weapon. When you understand the comms at this level of abstraction, you can then come down and particularize. You may then read this excellent post from Yuron and Swaysong and learn there are 4 servers. And I showed you this Friday, I believe. Friday we went over these 4 servers, right? So I don't think I need to do that again. Oops. Come on, puppy. Don't do that on me. Here's the 4 servers right here, right? We talk about the Gmail server in North Korea, the Clinton private email server that she had in her house. It was the SCIF, just crazy. House Democratic Caucus server that the Allman brothers were over, and then the DNC server, obviously that Seth Rich pulled off the information and gave to WikiLeaks. So those are 4 servers they're talking about, and we know that we're talking about all 4 of them, right? Then you read Q's board and realize Trump has them all. Q1666 says, we have the server. Q1279, we have it all. This way of thinking will be key in the future to understand Trump. Read again. Make sure this mental gymnastics is mastered. I wrote all this from my kitchen, so I imagine that Clapper really heard. This is why he is coming clean, and many will follow. The coming days are going to be epic. Trump has set the stage and has brilliantly sent all the messages to the deep state, allowing them to make a choice quick before he starts dropping the server bombs. Q1956, panic mode. Enjoy the show, Q. And we're just starting to see the panic mode right now with everybody freaking out. New information coming in. The Trump-Putin meeting, they've been trying to keep Putin away from Trump for a year and a half, hoping that he would be out of office by now, right? Now, the pledge to American workers. In summary, it is about asking companies and trade groups to sign a pledge to American workers. In this particular event, coordinated by Ivanka, POTUS signed a new executive order establishing the National Council for American Worker, and 23 organizations were the first to sign the pledge to American workers. I made it a little easier for you by pointing directly to the part of the video you had to focus on. So we saw that in the last post. That was where he was talking about the word apprentice, right, several times, and talking about the 23 companies. But a special kudos to those who took the time to watch all the videos, as there are always other gems hidden here and there. For example, watch this until 102. So let's watch this real quick.
Mr. President, on behalf of Lockheed Martin, I'm proud to say that today we pledge to provide career opportunities, new career opportunities for more than 8,000 employees over the next 5 years.
Thank you, Marilyn. You've done a fantastic job. Thank you, Marilyn. Hey, Fred, she makes a plane you can't see. It's stealth. F-35. I hope you can't see it at least, right? Great job. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, on behalf of Microsoft 10,000 Opportunities, and really proud to be their representative.
All right, you saw that. What did he bring up there, right? Did you catch it? Trump says, hey, Fred, she makes a plane you can't see. It's stealth F-35. Yep, you got it. Trump is talking to us, and he is giving us a nod and a wink to our now famous Q-1675 B-2 stealth bomber. Now, why 23 organizations? For the chess aficionados, or aficionados, you have to work on that one. Sorry, guys. It's another one I got this little cool thing. I had to go to YouTube and I go, how do you pronounce this word? And even though I've read it and I know what it says, I'm improving as I go here. So thanks for all your help and pointing out where I need to improve pronunciation. But did you ask yourself why my post about Helsinki meeting was using chess references and had a 4-play opening? What is 4? Remember, Elliptic language, 4 can be seen as a natural response to the sequence 2-3, right? There is a chess game that was played in Helsinki that became famous because of the 23rd move. Yes, not kidding. And guess what? It was between an American and a Russian master. Coincidence? By the 22nd move, American master Frank Marshall was losing to Russian master Stefan Levitinsky when Marshall, at his 23rd move, stunningly sacrificed his queen and won the game. This game entered the list of the most famous chess games under the name of the American Beauty. So it's called, that move is now called the American Beauty, right? And there's a link here, and you can go see a full 5-minute thing that talks about the moves and how he moved that queen over to sacrifice it. And actually, when the Russian realized that it was going to be checkmate within 2 or 3 moves, so he quit and gave up there. Now, who do you think is a sacrificed queen? Of course, it's costless and even fun to give away the witch. Look, it seems she knows some chess and still wants to share her thoughts from the thick smoke of her disintegration. Who's the sacrificed queen? Who's the witch? Well, he links to Hillary Clinton's actual Twitter post that said, "Great World Cup. Question for President Trump as he meets Putin. Do you know which team you play for?" Obviously, she's trying to. She's not happy with Mr. Trump as she's getting sacrificed. Is this confirmed by Q? All this is confirmed by Q, he says. You remember the post where he released his password in Q1415? We can see his password, right? His password to the trip code, right? In Q1418, he asks, mistake or purpose? Q. Of course we know it was done on purpose. Let's read the password. Now comes the pain. You can see it's got little ats and it's got the lowercase and uppercase, but now comes the pain. Dash, long dash, short dash, 23. Now comes the pain. Long dash, short dash, 23. So 23 is the signal announcing the pain. Frank Marshall won his Helsinki game with the 23rd Queen sacrifice move. Trump is inviting 23 organizations after having sacrificed the witch in Helsinki and defeated Putin with his 4-move opening. Do you see it? So, you thought there was no plan? I told you the plan is beyond brilliant and it's lethal. Q959. Learn chess, down she goes. Nobody escapes this. Nobody. Q. Now, why the word apprentice? Why does Trump repeat the word several times? I gave you this hint. Q1675 is all about reflections. Now, on this link, we learned that the CIE measures of whiteness is a measurement of the light reflected by the paper across the visible daylight spectrum. So let's look at this link here. And so this is going to link all the apprentice and stuff like that. Paper, whiteness, brightness, and shade. This isn't the one I was looking for. It just kind of explains what the whole whiteness part of this is. He's got an image coming up, so we'll keep going. This reflection is confirmation we are still in Q1675 territory. Knowing this and the context, let's rewrite apprentice. Unscramble the letters and analyze. This is what we get. This is what I was looking for. So apprentice, if you move the letters around, it says paper, CIE-NT. NT we know is talking about the server, the Windows server. We know paper is talking about this paper whiteness. CIE, and you can see in this discussion here that the CIE measure of whiteness is the measurement of the light reflected by the paper across the visible daylight spectrum. The CIE, right? So that obviously brings us back down to reflection, back to this, it links us right back down to the 1675 reflection again, right? Just more confirmation that 1675 still at play here with the reflections, etc. As you can see, the word apprentice is giving us another path to the server and connects perfectly with the Q1675 riddle through the light reflection measured using the CIE measures of whiteness. Now we may conclude. This whole event, beyond the obvious, is Trump warning the deep state about the pain coming to the 4 servers he is about to use against them and all the related topics we have gone through analyzing 1675. Now, close your eyes for a minute, try to purge your mind, forget everything that has been said here, and rewatch the video of the event. You will realize you have just received a training that will allow you to see everything with new eyes. These are the eyes that allowed Clapper to see what he saw and immediately throw Hussein under the bus without you being able to detect any plausible cause in the news. These are the eyes the deep state does not want you to have, so they can still communicate without you knowing. Q1646. Dark to light. God bless America. God bless patriots around the world. Think for yourself. Trust yourself. Wow. SB2. Sailor Brain 2 on fire. Giving us all kinds of great background of all the posts. You can link to him here. I'll have them below in the video. And then be able to see how he actually finally decoded when this pain's going to happen. And it's basically happening now. And we can see it literally. Clapper throws Obama under the bus. Shows him he's responsible for this. The FISA report comes out. It's showing the criminality of starting a FISA SpyGate investigation or surveillance on a candidate for the President of the United States. This is treasonous at the highest level, and it's every day leaking more and more and more, and the pain is coming. Now comes the pain. That is pretty cool, guys. So I had to go over those 2 posts because it really, something we've been looking for all this time. We're thinking it was 23 days. It wasn't. It was basically just unleashed here just recently. So watch the news as the future proves the past, right? Boom, President Trump. It looks more and more like the Trump campaign was illegally being spied on. Duh, we knew that, but now the world's starting to know it. And so he talked about July being the month that the world finds out what's going on, right? So this is a big part of it. I believe the FISA warrant coming out and Clapper starting to show that Hussein, that Obama is actually the one who actually instigated it all. And so it is a good day, in my opinion, right now. And I talked to you about, here's a friend's son that's actually got deployed to Gitmo, right, for 9 months and starting November. It's all happening now. It's all happening, right? It looks like Putin actually purposely shown his notes written in Russian. So there was things like talking about interference, Mueller, proposal, agreement, 199, Ukraine, ideas new to develop Nord Stream, transit, arbitrage. And so anyway, the point is that most people are thinking when they looked at that, Putin intentionally flashes his notes at the Helsinki summit to let the world know that the alliance is real. So how they got all those words and basically talked about that, but great sign of men doing business. If unity was only brought to rebuild Syria from the standpoint of two businessmen, you could see global prosperity like no one could have imagined. What you are watching is the transfer of the military-industrial complex to the global humanitarian alliance. I love that. Transfer of the military intelligence complex, which is part of the deep state and the shadow government, right, to the global humanitarian alliance. You see, these times are about repairing humanity. And those that plan to destroy it are the ones that are the loudest. Military-industrial complex behavior creates riches for the few and destroys the many, not only by the war it foments, but by the obscene allocation of funds that go out of the community and into the pockets of the damned. You can quote that and take it to the bank. Do you now see victory on the horizon? Woo! Amen, brother, this person says. It brings tears to my eyes, this person says. I've been crying on and off for the past few days. It's the light at the end of the tunnel that I can see. Years of hoping for this. It's happening, dudes. It's happening. This is exciting times. I tell you, whoa. Someone explain QAnon to me. So this person right here is supposedly somebody that C.J. Pearson, and you guys got, 170,000 followers on Twitter or something like that. I'm going to back up and see. C.J. Pearson has 172,000 followers and is asking for us to explain QAnon to him. Go! So I'm sure everybody went. I sent him a link to the Praying Medics beginner videos and the Plan to Save the World video. We will see if he responds to my messages, right? So good stuff. I should probably send him that one I recorded yesterday. That's what it's for, is to get people. I'd like to start, as you know, with the mainstream media and Operations Mockingbird. I think that's a first foundational point. People can get that, understand it, and they don't, and they're gonna. I'm hoping to motivate them not to want to be in the matrix and plugged into the matrix. Break away from it, right? Don't be controlled. You don't want to be a controlled person, and that I can do that without offending people talking about a lot about Hillary or Obama. I don't, and I just have to talk a little bit about Trump, about how the deep state's taking him down. So that's why that whole first the whole first part of that video is all about Mockingbird Media and really trying to get that point across. Then it goes into the deep state war. Then it goes into QAnon. So anyway, let me know what you think about that video, but it's a little bit long, 52 minutes, but I've gotten some really good feedback so far. So send that on to your friends and family if you'd like to really try to do something that's less offending that can wake them up, right? It's basically updating the one I did 5 months ago, which had a lot of old content that pointed to Corsi, which I don't want to do anymore, and it also just didn't have the updates, like 40,000 sealed indictments. It's like, wow. And it only had 13,000 when I did that, right? So it's a big difference of what's happening. There's a lot of other confirmations, like that 2 examples on July 2nd and then July 4th of the Mockingbird Media. Recent examples of just the parroting. So anyway, pass that along. I think I'm hoping that's going to be a blessing for you to let more family and friends know about this movement. Here's on a light post, his name was Seth Rich. He's going to go down in infamy as a patriot. blowing the whistle on this stuff and then getting murdered for it, right? Here's Hollywood celebs. We will go on a total strike if Trump does not resign. And people are going, yay, go on strike then. That would be fine with us, right? They were supposed to move to Canada, right? Whoopi Goldberg said she was going to move to Canada. So they break their promise. Now I hope they keep this one, that they'll actually go on strike and quit producing the crap they're. I mean, my goodness, my wife watches sometimes these series, and every one of them has just ungodly stuff in it. Every one of them is just terrible. I mean, it's just, a backwards type orientation. So anyway, just crazy. So we got rid of our Netflix account, by the way. So it just that's where Obama is. That's where Sally, and I'm sorry, who's you guys will know who I'm talking. Susan Rice is actually on the board there now. Crazy stuff. Now here goes. The fact that the media is willing to cover up on Obama's outrageous spying and wiretapping of the Trump campaign is more frightening to me than the crime itself. I agree with that. It's just crazy. Just great news here. Obviously, I got 2 days worth of news since I missed yesterday doing that video. Obama's propaganda gift to Trump, right? This was back in January, where it literally, just talked about how he took all this sensitive information and unmasking, and that was was only supposed to be in one of the intelligence agencies, and he let it spread over all 17 of the agencies. Just criminal activity, making it almost impossible to stop leaks, right, from happening. There's a meme that says, all we have to do is stand up, like this Illuminati and these creeps are basically have us, holding up the chessboard. And their little game is over if we just stand up. So let's stand up against these wild, crazy pedos, right? Here's a couple pedo arrests, too. Pedowood, I'm talking about Hollywood, right, says the Annans don't know who they are dealing with. The pedos just started a war they will shamefully lose. Q said they were stupid. This is proof. So somebody came on the 8chan board and just started talking smack to all the Anons, basically saying, you're not anonymous. You don't know who you're messing with. Don't mess with our lives. We're fine here as these wealthy pedophiles, right? These people are really stupid. Whoever this was that posted for the pedos is trying to say they know how to expose the Anons. I don't believe that for a second. The only thing you have to remember is he will not divide us. LOL. This little battle didn't work out so well for them. Chased his A down, right? That's a person that was exposed as a pedophile here just recently by Mike Cernovich all over the world and still captured the flag. You can believe this will be an all-out war, not just some little skirmish. Where we go one, we go all. And you can click right here and you can actually see what he posted. He basically is threatening them. He's saying, you think this is some sort of game? Do you not understand that you are effing with people's livelihoods here? These are real people's lives we're talking about. This is wrong on so many levels. You all think you're so big and tough hiding behind the screen. You worthless, redneck, racist, inbred pieces of S. You have no idea why and what you are going up against. Let me make something resoundingly clear to the cesspool and its inhabitants. You're not as anonymous as you think you are. Far from it. What you're doing is tantamount to terrorism, and trust me, there will be serious repercussions. That's all I have to say. That's a person basically saying, just almost like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, will be serious repercussions, right? And here's an anon basically replied to this, says, daily reminder, no one here is scared of Hollywood. Keck. So, so they started a war with the Anons. And that's one, and some guy down here says, OS, did they break the number one rule of the internet? You don't F with the Chans. Right? Yep, they sure did. Exposing them is not terrorism, it's a duty. And what's about the kids they molest? Those are real lives. Exactly right. So it's so cool to see that, awesome that this is happening. It's all happening right now. We're seeing, here's another pedo thing right here that got released. I recently read a post on here about how General Flynn, where is the other one? There was two I had. I think I got these two mixed up. Excuse me, we'll get to it in a second. I recently read a post on here about how General Flynn started following someone out of the blue. The same happened to me, and I DM'd him. That's direct messaging for those of you who aren't on Twitter. I just got a message back from him. Pretty cool. So General Flynn is actually communicating with people, and there was some discussion about here. It's like, you won't believe when you find out who's been talking to you, Q. So some people think it's actually General Flynn is QAnon. I think it's a team of people, and I think it'll be interesting to see. I think Steve Miller's one of them, etc. Here it is. DOJ busts psychiatrist with 20,000 child pornography files as part of Operation Safe Childhood. Again, this was today. It seems like every few days it's coming down, right? And I'm about ready to read you something that's another prophet that talks about God exposing not only the major pedophile rings, but all of them. And I just hope that's true. It's like so cool to see this, right? Tell you what, I feel bad, but I wanted to do this Bible study, but it's already been an hour. I've got so much material here. I'll have to think about what I need to do here. Let's see. Top U.S. Cardinal suspended, accused of multiple sex crimes against children, covering it up. And so, wow, more stuff here. And here's the Vatican's going down. We know that. And in my book, I think I was told you they literally laundered drug money into those what I was telling you, those guerrilla groups. Some of them called themselves they had various names, but they literally use the Vatican's banks to launder the CIA drug money to be able to fund the guerrilla groups through Italy and Germany to try to take on the communists, justifying selling drugs to our own people in Harlem and to the jazz clubs, and then taking that money and going in and funding guerrilla groups that were literally murdering people and hanging people and killing people that had anything to do with communism, right? And justifying that and doing it through the Vatican banks. It's just crazy. And so now all these sex crimes of the Vatican, here's another cardinal. So we knew he had a bad May, the Pope did, and it continues, right? It's not just a bad May. It's going to be even worse later, right? So there's great, go to my Facebook if you can. That's my new Facebook page. I put a link here I think I put it on my Twitter page as well. But Kevin Shipp exposes Clinton connection to the shadow government. One of my subscribers sent this to me. Man, it's a 2-hour long video, but it is awesome. I'm only about halfway through. It's the best thing I've seen. It was just recorded this month, middle of the month, and it is detailed, talking about he separates the shadow government from the deep state. And there's some organizations I've never even heard of. Amazing video. So again, that's my Blessed to Teach Facebook. You'll see that. Blessed to Teach right here. And you might be able to find it also on my Twitter page to find that video. Just highly recommended. Here is Kevin Shipp exposes Clinton connections to the shadow government. You can probably search for it right here on YouTube. Kevin Shipp exposes Clinton connections to the shadow government. I'm going to put a little like on that. I'm not linked into that. Hate it when it doesn't link those things up. Schiff, Trump's gravest threat to our democracy I've seen in my life. Quite possibly Russia has dirt on him. The loudest voices have the most to lose. I wonder what dirt Putin gave POTUS on all the screamers. We are watching a movie. Stock up there. May be a popcorn shortage. Whoa. So fun stuff coming up. All right. And looks like I got through most of this. This is that was a link that I wanted to get to here. That is that I think I brought on the other page. So, and you can find this as well for those of you who don't see the next video. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down this video. You guys are going to have to wrap up your conversation pretty quick, and I'm going to start the Bible study and the prophecy about justice being happening, right? It's going to be cool stuff. So join me here in about 10 minutes when I go get a drink and relax for a little bit. But this Johnny Enlow gives a prophecy that is amazing. So here in a second, I'm going to reload and we're going to start the Bible study. We're going to go over Ezra 1. We're going to go over that prophecy and how that relates to all the justice that happened. Talk a little bit about Daniel 5 because it's so related to Ezra 1, about King Belshazzar. It's going to be a great little Bible study we'll do here in just a little bit. God bless you guys. We're going to wrap this up from here. And I have so much time, I'm not going to be able to talk to you tonight. But hey, SpyGate is confirmed. Qanon and SB2, we know about the 23 and what it means and the pain. Here comes the pain. July 22nd, it's been a great day. We're seeing the pain coming out. The deep state's going down. Exciting stuff. Again, my Bible study on Ezra 1 is going to be a separate video now based on the length of this since we're over an hour. God bless you guys. We'll talk to you soon.